Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming back or coming to Growth Rising. I'm Bird, and if you've been following any of my recent videos, you know that we've been talking about the planets going retrograde, and we've went over all of them. And so today we're going to finish up with Pluto. And you do well. For those of you who don't know, the further away a planet is from us, the less we are to feel the energies, even though like whenever a planet stops and goes retrograde, it's like the planet is closer. And although we know that planets don't actually just stop and then start going backwards, we just start to feel those energies backwards, because from our point here on Earth, it seems as if the planet is now going in the opposite direction. And with Pluto, it is a generational planet. It takes like over 200 years before it gets back to the sign that it was in when you were born. So most likely none of us are going to see, our Pluto return, but that's a different conversation. Um, with Pluto in retro, if you are born with Pluto in retrograde, it could help with your spiritual progress, depending on where Pluto is placed within your chart. It can be very helpful or it can be very challenging, which I guess it's kind of like that with all of the planets. It could be helpful, but with Pluto, since it's already the planet of like transformation and power and rebirth, it could definitely be beneficial to you or a bit more difficult. If you are born with Pluto in retrograde, you may feel like an outcast or alienated amongst your peers, or like when you're in a group setting, like even like take it to school or work, you may feel like you're an outcast or that you're just alienated from everyone else. And many people may not realize, the energies of Pluto being retrograde in their birth chart just because it's so far away. And no, Pluto's not over here. I just looked over there. Um, and you could also struggle with inner conflicts, and outside forces could also affect those inner conflicts. So, whenever a planet is going retrograde, it does have us to look inward. But, like with Pluto, those outside forces are more likely to, they are likely to, affect however you feel with your own stuff. You may have some power struggles just because Pluto is retrograde. And so that's, with Pluto in your birth chart, the little round thing. You can go look it up online. There's a lot of different websites that you can go to for free. And collectively, when Pluto goes retrograde, it does kind of give a break from the regular demands of Pluto, because Pluto is very Plutonian. It's very powerful. It deals with a lot of transformation, and with transformation, you do have to go through some type of difficult moment for you to get to the other side of that transformation. We'll also see our own intentions or fears, which will be a good time to go ahead and work on them so that you can go through that transformation. But Pluto will be like, here it is. So it doesn't necessarily force you to work on them, but it'll be a good time to do that. It's also a time to get in touch with, the, I guess, the darker side of yourself. I don't want to make it sound like it's negative, because we all have that light and dark, because, it's kind of like the whole yin and yang. We all have that. So, you can get in touch with the darker side of it and, find out what you might need to go through to work with that part of you better. And also, you can come out of a Pluto retrograde more spiritually enlightened or just spiritually lighter after going through the transformation of whatever it is that you might have needed to go through. And Pluto is actually going to be going retrograde. What? No. Pluto actually is retrograde now. Pluto went retrograde on May 1st because it went retrograde. So we've been going through a Pluto retrograde. Some people may have been feeling it stronger than others, depending on, if you have any personal planets close by Pluto. I think it's like 0 degrees Aquarius, I believe. Yeah. Or is it, it just depends on where Pluto is right now. And if you have any personal planets that are close by that degree is where Pluto could be talking to. So you'll feel it stronger than somebody who doesn't have any personal planets there. And there are in the Astro Data Bank for, all the birth charts from, up to 2020, there were 19.23% of the birth charts that had Pluto retrograde in them. And so we're actually basically getting up on a time where a lot of planets are about to go retrograde, because any of you who have been following, how the planets have been since the beginning of the year, you know that we did have a period where all of the planets were direct. And yes, even Mercury, even though it goes retrograde every couple of months, but yeah, all of them were direct. So now we have Pluto retrograde. Neptune is going retrograde on June 30th. Saturn actually just went retrograde on the 17th, I believe. So now we have, Pluto and Saturn, and soon to be Neptune, because it'll be on the 30th. In July, Venus is going to go retrograde. In August, Uranus is going to be retrograde. And in September, Jupiter is going to go retrograde. So we're going to have a lot of retrograde planets. It's nothing to be fearful of or nothing to stress out about, because for one, Pluto is so far away. So, if you don't, because Pluto is not going to cover a lot of ground going retrograde, just because it's so far out and it's going to move so slowly. So you might not have any personal planets that are going to be meeting up with Pluto retrograde. Neptune is pretty far out, and so is Uranus. Saturn and Jupiter, they're more like these social planets. But, of course, we're going to go through more Mercury retrogrades. So Venus, that is a personal planet. So we may feel that a little bit stronger. I think it will be going retrograde in Leo next month. So, just be on the lookout for that. And just know that whenever planet is going retrograde, you can work with it, because it's there to teach you something. It's doing it to teach you something. If you're going through something very strongly. I, for one, have already been noticing some stuff with the Saturn retrograde. Not even just with me. So I actually had to go back and look, and was thinking, there's a lot going on right now. What's going on in the sky? And I was like, oh, yeah, Saturn did just go retrograde. Which also do keep in mind that before a planet actually goes retrograde, there's this pre-shadow period. And after it, goes back direct, there's a post-shadow period. So sometimes you still feel those little effects of that planet going retrograde, maybe a couple of weeks before it goes retrograde and after. So do keep in mind of that as well. But I actually have enjoyed doing the retrograde series with you guys, and I hope that you have enjoyed it too. And I hope that you all have a good day. Bye.